I think the role, it's like any kind of arts, that it doesn't really have a role in the society. If it has a role, that meaning that arts will become a kind of tool, a kind of instrument. So I think art should not be instrumentalized. But in the meantime, it has a very important role because it creates a different system of thinking and imagination and communication that is not in the normal social structure. So somehow maybe it has a very important role to play because I think it's necessary to have something different from the normal social structure in the society itself. And this makes the society more complete, more interesting. But in the Asian and Chinese context, I think contemporary arts has been very closely related to the question of social, political, economic, and also struggle for freedom, these issues. And so it has definitely a very important relationship to it. So I think it's impossible to separate that from the society only as a kind of independent structure. But so the role is much more active somehow as an influence to the evolution of the society. So somehow I think the artists are struggling between these two areas. Well, I think public art, at first I think it's really important to say that almost every art, it's public, in the sense that if it has to be presented to the public to be seen, it has already some meaning to the public space and public readings. But in the meantime, of course, there's a specific history of public art, especially in some contexts, like in Asia Pacific region. I think it's very important to say that contemporary art activity has been closely related to the urban development, and in many ways they are products of the street somehow. And in that case, actually, it makes the contemporary art even more public than in other places. And in this context, also we can look at the evolution of so-called public art in different contexts, and also in the West. I think we can clearly see that public art has been evolved from a traditional form of monuments, of statues or decoration, into a much more closely related to real life. So meaning that public art is more and more becoming more and more immaterial, much more integrated into the process of everyday life, in taking different forms, including performance, workshop, collaboration projects, community projects, and penetrating to the everyday life situations. So public art, I think, has taken a very, very different form and very, very different nature. So public art is somehow, I think, taking the place of this city-making process. So in this case, I think it has definitely a very, very important influence on the policy of how the urban societies, how the urban forms are being reconstructed. Well, I think Utopia, it's not only a concept. I don't think when we talk about Utopia, we have to systematically relate it to Thomas More, for example. I think Utopia, it means a place doesn't exist, but it's expected to be a reference for us to change our living situation. So it's always existing there. So I think it's inevitable that people talk about Utopia, even it's in a very, very different forms. And so But in the contemporary situation, I think utopia becomes even more important because we are living in a time that it's basically dominated by one way of thinking, one system of value, one system of economic interests, etc., etc., and one system of so-called political system. And in this case, it's very important to claim for difference. And utopia as a kind of metaphor, as kind of a desire, it's a guarantee of our needs to look for, to open free spaces or spaces for freedom. So in that case, I think it's a very, very important aspect. And art, I think, and as well as urban planning, as well as architectural design, etc., are very much about space making, right? And in this case, it's very important to refer to the idea of utopia, to imagine how we can improve our living condition and how to improve the space of our life. So in this case, I think utopia is an integral part of our thinking.